Okay, so I'm back in the spot that I saw the otter yesterday, a little bit further downriver now, to make sure that I have as much time as possible to spot it as it's coming downriver and prepare myself. I'm in the bag hide. The light's much nicer today. There's still quite a strong breeze blowing downriver, so it makes it a little bit harder to spot the otter's movements as it's coming downriver, because the water's rippling a lot and there's a lot of movement on the top of the water anyway, so picking out those few seconds where he breaches and then dives back under might be a bit difficult, but fingers crossed. Hopefully another successful day with some slightly better weather. So I've been sat in the back hide for about an hour now, not seen too much going on, to be honest, but I have just noticed down to the left of me, floating around in a bit of in some reeds, there is a small pale and spotty egg about this big that's just floating around. Can anyone tell me what bird egg that might be? Just find it quite funny that people don't put two and two together, that maybe if someone sat in a camouflage bag, maybe it's because they don't want to be seen or heard. So the first thing you should do is always shout at this person in that camouflage bag, "What are you doing? Have you got any success?" Well, I was waiting for wildlife, mate, but you know. So it's been a couple of hours since I last updated you. I moved out of the bag hide. Ellie came down with some lunch, and we had a little stroll along the river to see if we could spot any signs of the otter. It's about the same time now as it was yesterday that I saw the otter pass through this spot, and I've not seen it yet. But there is still time. I don't know whether or not the weather's made a difference, as it is a nicer day today. There's more people around walking along the river. I don't know whether or not it might be a bit busy. Despite seeing no otter as of yet, there's still plenty of wildlife around. There's loads of swans, some Canada geese, I've seen a kingfisher a couple of times. There's so much wildlife on this river. It really is good to see. But yeah, no otters as of yet. This is part and parcel of trying to find otters. You never really know where they're going to be, so still hopeful. I think starting on such a good note and such a great sighting is both a blessing and a curse, because now I've seen it, I'm kind of expecting to see it a lot, I guess, whereas at least if I hadn't have seen it and I don't see it for a few days, I'm not expecting it quite as much. But still great to see it so early on, and I am still hopeful that I will see it again soon. So I've come up onto a bridge which gives me a great view up and down the river. But it's a beautiful day. Wind's cold, as you can see. I've got a very red nose, but it seems to have died down a little bit now. Just going to spend the last couple of hours of daylight, see if we can find it. But there's always tomorrow. also think it's probably worth mentioning that on this particular stretch where I am trying to find this otter, there are 3 separate waterways all running parallel to each other. So we've got the River Witham or Witham in the background, and then behind that, over that little grassy hill, is something called the North Delf, which is a narrow river system that runs behind it. And then on the other side we have a drain as well, which is another long narrow waterway. And I've spoken to a few people who are out and about, who have been obviously asking me what I'm doing with big camera gear on my shoulder, and there's a couple of people that have said that they've seen the otter before swimming along the drain as well as the river, and there's also some people that have even said they've seen him on the Delf occasionally as well. So I'm not just having to try and search one waterway, I'm having to try and search 3 waterways, and you can't see all 3 all the time. So there's certain sections like here where I can walk and I can see the drain and the river on either side of me, which is nice. I can see both here, but then there are also parts where I can only see the river, and there are also parts where I can only see the drain, and unless I'm on the Delf side I can't see the Delf, but if I'm on the Delf side then I can't see the drain. So yes, it's tough. However, running between the river and the drain is a main cycleway and footpath, which is got quite heavy traffic going through it. Lots of walkers, lots of dog walkers, lots of cyclists are always passing down this path at all times of day. So there are very few times, other than night time or very early morning, where the otters would probably cross from the river over to the drain, whereas there's a long section of the path from the river over to the Delf, which isn't a public footpath. I think it's more likely that the otters would pass from the river and cross over to the Delf rather than crossing over to the drain, at least not during daylight hours really. So I may have to try and see if there's any way that I can walk along the other side of the river. Well, I'm going to call it a day now. The sun's setting behind me. The last of the good light to film is on its way out. Yeah, loads of wildlife still around on the river, which is great, but yeah, unfortunately no otter today, but that's fine. The weather's not meant to be great tomorrow, but I'm still going to come out for a couple of hours. There's a good place under the bridge that I can take some shelter, hopefully, from the rain a little bit. And maybe if it's a little bit quieter on the river in foot traffic and less people cycling and walking the dogs, maybe it'll reappear again. But nonetheless, a beautiful day. I'm going to pack down my stuff now and then yeah, get home. So I'll see you guys tomorrow.
Something that I have realised when editing this together was just how much I had to learn about finding these otter on river systems. And I'd seen videos before on YouTube about people going to Mull and finding coastal otters and spraint and things to look for. But I'd never had to put it into practice. I'd never seen otter in the wild before. I'd never even thought about trying to find them on the river system particularly. So just watching things back, and even now thinking about what I may have done differently, and potentially what things I could have been looking out for more, my process in seeing the otter and then going back to the same spot the next day and potentially seeing it again. And I think part of me was just excited in the fact that I'd seen it there, so it could be a regular place for it to reappear. But perhaps a little bit naive in hindsight to think that it would reappear the next day in exactly the same spot, and not really thinking about the range that otters have within their territories. So yeah, just interesting to see my approach in the early days compared to what I know now, and perhaps how I would have done things a little bit differently. But still, no otter this time. Maybe next time, we'll see. If you did like this video, guys, please do give it a like, drop a comment down below, hit subscribe if you already hadn't, poke that bell notification so that you know when the next video is uploaded, and I'll see you then. Peace. Wetlands are incredibly important and one of the most Wetlands are incredibly important and offer one of the most, yeah. But their numbers are in huge decline, so places like the Fen, no. Wetlands are incredibly important and are one of the most biologically diverse. Wetlands are one of, no. Offer a lifeline to those creatures that rely on this habitat for their survival. So close. Offer a lifeline to those creatures that rely on this habitat to Wetlands are incredibly important and one of the most biologically diverse habitats on the planet. But they are in huge decline. Okay.